I'd like to call to order tonight's school board meeting. Good evening. I don't have a teacher voice to use, so thank you. I don't know how many good evenings turns into just being rude, so I'll just keep saying good evening. Thank you. I'd like to call to order tonight's school board meeting, March 14th at 5:33. Thank you all for being here tonight. Tonight, Ms. Sanchez has the invocation to share with us, and then will lead us in the pledge.
Unity. I dreamt I stood in a studio and watched two sculptors there. The clay they used was a young child's mind, and they fashioned it with care. One was a teacher. The tools that he used were books, music, and art. The other, a parent, worked with a guiding hand and a gentle, loving heart. Day after day, the teacher toiled with touch that was careful, deft, and sure, while the parent labored by his side and polished and smoothed it over. And when at last their task was done, they were proud of what they had wrought, for the things that they had molded into the child could neither be sold nor bought. And each agreed that they would have failed if each had worked alone. For behind the parent stood the school, and behind the teacher stood the home. This was unknown author, and also would like to say, I would like you all to please keep our colleague, school board member Jeff Bauer, his family, and him in your prayers as he's dealing with some medical issues. And also would like to have you all keep our children and our SCPS families. Everybody have a nice, safe spring break, and that we're thinking of everybody, and that's about it. So, and now we can stand for the pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let the record reflect that 4 of 5 school board members are in attendance this evening, Dr. Griffin and Ms. Beeman, and the school board clerk as well. I don't have any forms here for acknowledgments. Anyone who's joining us tonight from one of our school PTAs or school advisory councils, if you're here, we thank you for your presence and the time that you commit to our schools daily. Dr. Griffin, do you have any agenda modifications?
Just one, Madam Chair. The addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item.
Board members, any modifications? Mrs. Almond?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Sanchez?
No, ma'am.
All right. I am going to pull K for separate consideration. Is there a motion to approve the agenda outline?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Griffin.
Okay, we have a few recognitions down to the floor.
Dr. Griffin and school board members, it is my privilege tonight to recognize some outstanding high school students in Seminole County. First of all, special congratulations to the girls soccer team from Oviedo High School. The girls soccer team completed their season undefeated with a record of 22-0-1 en route to successfully defending last year's state title. This win gave them back-to-back championships for the first time in school history and extends their unbeaten streak to 31 games spanning 2 seasons. In a few of this year's stats, they include 119 goals scored and only 7 given up over 23 games, 17 shutouts, and winning their 3rd consecutive district championship. On the road to the state championship, they defeated Apopka 7-0, Lake Mary 1-0, Flagler Palm Coast 3-0, Newsom 3-0, and finally Boca Raton 3-1 in the state final. The final win gave them a playoff total of 17 goals for and only 1 against. The Lions wrapped up the postseason rankings by Max Preps as the #1 team in the state of Florida for all classifications and were ranked 2nd nationally, which must be a mistake. They had to be #1 nationally. We all know that. They have also won 4 out of the last 7 state titles in the FHSAA Class 5A classification. Let's meet the team. Come on up. Samantha Blanford, Brianna Wagoneer, Emma Bruzema, Aaron Michelson, Caitlin Zippe, Tessa Siemens, Maddie Bozoko, Jade Barquette, Ali DeRose, Avery Nowak, Kenna Hildebrand, Sarah Peterson, Mariah Beavers, Zoe Smythe, Carly Mitchell, Madison Allen, Reagan Massey, Camille Copperthite, Sydney Brown, Caitlin Armour, Haley Beavers, and Sierra Brown. Also the coaching staff, assistant coaches Patty Rose, Dennis Line, Bill Barker, and head coach Scott Weissenen, and also in the audience, Principal Joe Tribus.
We can have a row do that, and then you can kind of slide over. There you go. Okay, we're all right. We're all right.
Also being recognized tonight from Lake Mary High School, wrestler William Holt. Tenacious, determined, and hard-working are the words to describe William Holt. In only his 2nd year of being on the wrestling team, William finished with an undefeated record capped off by a JV state championship at the 220-pound weight class. William has excelled on and off the mat, and his commitment to excellence has propelled him to his great accomplishments. Tonight also with him is Coach Jamie Foley, head wrestling coach, and Mr. Calkins sent his regrets. He's at a school advisory council meeting tonight. Congratulations, William Holt. And last but not least, Team 4717. If that means anything, it means something to some people, but probably not a lot. I got to get this right. The Mecromancers, is that right? The Mecromancers representing Haggerty Robotics at the First Tech Challenge State Championship in Davie, Florida, back on Saturday, February 25th. Out of almost 200 teams in Florida, only the top 28 teams are invited to compete at the state championship. During the competition, they played 6 qualifying matches and won them all. They were the only undefeated team going into the semifinals and the finals. Ultimately, they won the entire championship undefeated. They also won the Rockwell Collins Innovate Award for their unique robot. They will advance to the national competition in Athens, Georgia, where they will compete against the top teams in the nation during spring break. Let's meet the members. Haven Carter, Drew DiMaggio, Austin English, Victoria Guys, Zachary Irving, Neil Mady, Rishna Nadu, Ryan Nelson, Andrew Perot, Tom Pothin, Pranav Sharma, Mason Detman, Madison Dishman, Catherine Guys, Nicholas Injo, Samuel Jones, Matthew Mason, Tyler McCormick, Rajav Narayanan, Ashani Patel, Anjali Prudnath Manarang, and Amy Robinson. Haggerty's Robotics is coached by Poe Dickinson and Stefan Brargruen, with additional assistance from Mercedes Agramonte Harper. Mentors are Ian Nelson and Brad Steinbraun from Siemens, and Brad Cope from NAWCTSD, and Don Harper from UCF. Also in attendance, Haggerty Principal Dr. Mary Williams. Congratulations, Haggerty Robotics.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Griffin. It is my privilege to introduce a new member of our SCPS Dining Services restaurant team, Robert Newkirk. Robert has been working for Carrabba's Italian Grill for the past 11 years, where he's been managing partner at the Altamont location and the Florida Mall location. So, and joining Robert tonight is his daughter, Ariana. She's standing up back there with the headphones.
Okay, early learners, please start setting up here.
This presentation would have been better if you actually brought the babies with you.
Oh, yay! Boyfriend. Oh, he's so cute. Cute.
Good evening, board members. Would like to share some updated information with you regarding Great Start Pathways to Success and our VPK program. And so here with us tonight is the director, Dr. Anna Lynn Jones, and our coordinator, Carla Betts.
Great Start was started in 2014, so we're in our third year. It promotes parents' education through structured play groups, and we're working on building oral language and fluency in our youngest learners. Just a little bit of data, because I know we all love data. In November and December, and of course December was a little shorter, we did have 68 families participate in one group. That's a non-duplicated count. So that's exciting to know we're reaching that many families. We had 83 participants at the Department of Health in Sanford. That seems to be our largest draw, get quite a good crowd there. And we are providing case management to 6 families currently. We have a teen mom group at Seminole High School, which is new this year, Winter Springs High School, which we started last year, and we have a student at Endeavor. So a total of 11 teen moms that we're doing outreach and support to. Our Great Start Teacher on Assignment partners with the school social workers, and they do the social work part. We help with different things related to literacy and oral language and education for the baby. We did recently receive a $1,000 grant from the Heathrow Women's Club, so we are excited to be chosen as one of their smaller charities this year. And there's our favorite guest reader in one of the slides. Dr. Griffin participated in, so did Mrs. Ullman, and I think Dr. Calderon was there at our Boo Bash, and Dr. Griffin actually took the hat from us. We didn't get it back, so you might be seeing that make an appearance next year. You can see we also have partnered with some community agencies, the Sanford Police Department's pictured here with our pop-up in the park. That's Officer Kuczynski. He's the SRD, or SRO, I guess you would call him, at Hamilton, and he also helps us at the Early Learning Center. So he came out and he read to the children. So we're always looking for ways to get the community involved as well. So currently, we have 844 students enrolled, which is 92% capacity in our VPK program. We are at all elementary schools except for Hamilton. We have Seminole High School, 40 students there, and then we have the Early Learning Center, which is adjacent to Hamilton, which is why we don't have it at Hamilton. But we have 5 classes at our Early Learning Center. We're serving 75 students there. We have what we call home zone schools. So if you live in the school zone for one of these schools, you get the full day at no charge. So VPK, the state pays the morning, and Title I pays the afternoon. And this is wonderful for our most at-risk learners. It has really cut down on transition or moving. The parents know they don't have to come up with the tuition. They know it's covered. So we're seeing a lot more kids retained in our program for the year and not moving around. So it has been huge to offer that. We do give them a little screening at the pre-K office and a questionnaire for the parents. We want to make sure we are serving the most at-risk students. If they score too high on the little screener we give them, then we try to place them at another school because it's not really made for the children that are scoring higher. So it's the students that have the greatest need. Some things we're working on for next year is we are working on a STEM lab at the Early Learning Center. We received a $10,000 grant from Duke Energy, so we're busy spending the money. We met with Orlando Science Center. We toured down there. They came to see us. They gave us some great suggestions. We really want it to be something very exciting to engage the students in STEM and to support our district initiatives of coding and engineering and robotics. We're also adding a VPK class at Longwood, so we're really excited to be expanding there as well. So we opened registration on March 1st. It's always a big party at the VPK office on March 1st. We had 250 students show up just in one day. Everybody left happy, so that was really great. Currently, we have, this was as of Friday, 340 students, 42 students registered. It's a lot higher now because we've had 3 days past that, but we have 98 students on the wait list, which means they still have paperwork to submit or they are waiting for space in the class they've selected. And we keep going until all classes are full.
And I'm excited to be able to provide for you some information updates as far as our ESS department and some programs that were initiated and started about this time 2 years ago. Michelle Guffey and Mark DiConsiglio brought the program an idea that addresses the behavioral and academic issues of students, and then we just want to show you the progress. We're very excited about it. Our project lead is Michelle Guffey on my far right, and Amy Elwood is the administrator supervising, so I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thank you so much. Students with autism and intellectual disabilities are identified with having language and communication deficits. Language gaps are also well represented in economically disadvantaged populations. As you can see on this graph, the achievement gap starts very early in a child's age. In the first 3 years, the difference in vocabulary acquisition is well evidenced between low socioeconomic students and high socioeconomic students. Currently, in Seminole County Public Schools, Students with disabilities in our elementary population are 64% economically disadvantaged. When we looked at this curriculum project, we wanted to identify research-based instructional methods and curriculum that would identify language needs of these early and vulnerable populations. And so I'm going to let Michelle tell you how we've implemented this instruction and the wonderful outcomes that we're seeing with these students.
Great, thank you, Amy. All right, at this time, if you look at what the research indicates is effective as far as education and students with disabilities, there's a heavy research basis for those instructional models based off of applied behavior analysis. And so the challenge then is how do we represent that and implement that in the public school system? And so the ESC curriculum project that we have implemented here in Seminole County is a focus on systematically implementing those evidence-based procedures for our ESC students. If you look at the model up on the screen here, in the past, we would split our ESC students based off of exceptionality. So it wasn't necessarily based off of what curriculum-wise or service-wise was necessary. It was more just, ASD students in this room, ID students in this room. We were transitioning students transportation-wise across the district for that. And so what we really looked at is what does the student's priority education need, regardless of the disability. So if you look at the three circles, we have the developmental student. Those would be students who lack those basic foundational communication and language skills to participate in academic instruction. So students who don't have like a kindergarten level language and communication repertoire. Those may be nonverbal students who don't have any communication or ones that just have deficits in certain areas. Academic students, as Amy was presenting in the data and the graph that she presented, do have language and communication delays. That's a hallmark of an autism diagnosis and an intellectual disability, is that there are language and communication deficits. So what we really wanted to do was address those deficits in a systematic way. There's another circle up there for functional. We're not going to address that as much right now, but we want to make sure that our students that are moving from middle to high school and onto their next environments are really being served and preparing them for adulthood well. So in 2015 and 16, we started in 2 elementary schools. And if we look at the map here, we had 3 developmental classes. In those classrooms, we had about 22 students. And in the academic classrooms, we had 6 academic classrooms. And we served about 100 students between both of those 2 schools. This year, we have increased our scope to cover 5 elementary schools, where we have 6 developmental classrooms serving about 30 students there, and 11 academic classrooms serving about 160 students. And so if you really look at those different circles and how we might serve those needs for those students, we want to look at the assessment of students. So in developmental circle, we assess using a developmentally appropriate scope and sequence, looking at skills from 0 to 48 months. So if a student doesn't have those skills, then they're not going to be successful when we're moving on to reading comprehension and those types of things. So we want to employ that assessment to figure out where we should start teaching those students and then what should come next. So instead of kind of just picking and choosing what we think might be appropriate, we know based off of a typically developing child what would come first and what would come next. And then give the teachers those tools to select appropriate goals for IEPs and for programming in the classroom. And then we can employ the evidence-based teaching procedures based off of that assessment and then collect data on that. And so we collect the data on the total number of skills those students have mastered, and we'll share that with you. But more importantly than that, these are students who don't have, like I said, sometimes even vocal communication, and we're hearing them speak for the first time, and their parents are able to hear them speak to them for the very first time. And just the tears around the IEP table when we're sharing those results are quite incredible, and it's really a neat thing to be a part of. In the academic circle, we give assessments to figure out, it's a curriculum-based assessment, to figure out what a student's instructional level is, and then we provide that effective instruction using direct instruction curricula, so that would be reading mastery, corrective reading, connecting math concepts, and language for learning, again, addressing that language deficit, and collect data on the number of lessons mastered, and then we take mastery test data. The students are required to pass with 90% or we don't move on. And that's truly no child left behind when we're making sure that we're passing those benchmarks before moving on. So the next thing we want to focus on here are the data that we have gathered from that. So in the developmental classrooms, our students last year mastered a total of 2,067 skills. This year so far through December, we've mastered 1,770 skills. So that puts us on track if we finish the year as expected to master for 30 students, 3,540 skills, which is an average of 118 per student. Now, these are students who we don't have that measure of progress for in the past. So there's some pretty incredible data. If you look at the academic students, we looked at the baseline reading fluency scores, and then we looked at the average number of word count per minute that was gained in those students. So in 2015-16, the 33 students who we were able to take fluency assessments for gained an average of 38 words per minute. And this year, right now, thus far, so again, this is only halfway through the year, their average 42 word count per minute gain over their baseline word count per minute. So again, these are students with intellectual disabilities, with autism, and students that have specific learning disabilities. So some pretty great results. And when you look at things this way, instead of by exceptionality and looking really at the priority education need, it makes a lot of things easier. Student grouping is easier. Allocating resources and materials a lot easier. We don't need as much behavior support because a lot of times the students who can't communicate have the most behavior issues. So if we're teaching them to communicate their basic wants and needs, then we have a drop in the number of problem behaviors that we're seeing in the classroom. We have increased student gains and the data to prove it. I've shared some of those with you here tonight. Socially significant outcomes, and also we have more effective teachers, and hopefully that leads to increased teacher satisfaction and retention of those teachers and a draw for ESE teachers to come to work in Seminole County. We want to tailor our professional development based off of the curriculum that they're teaching. That way they're really getting tailored and useful information and things that they can take back into their classroom. And overall, we have more students that are achieving grade level expectations, and we're closing those gaps. So that's an exciting time here. If you have, if you want to visit the classrooms or have any other questions, then we can call Dr. Walsh and schedule some time to make that appointment.
The exciting thing is that we're going to be adding a few more schools. We'll be into 17 classrooms, and we plan on having full implementation by not next year, but the following year, all across the district and moving to middle school and high school.
Also, board members, I'd like to introduce to you our Great Start facilitators that work with us. If you would please start. These are the ladies that run the classes for our infants and do our pop-up in the park. So we're excited to have them. They do great work. And then I'd like to introduce our VPK resource teachers that are here with us. Please stand. Ms. Jerry supports our VPK office down at the Reinhardt office, so we're excited that they're here. And Mrs. Bett works out of the Early Learning Center in Sanford. So thank you so much for your support of both of the programs. We're very excited, and we plan to continue to grow the number of students that join us in VPK and Great Starts.
Any questions?
I just have one, Madam Chair. The one on the word count per minute, what's the age for that, just out of curiosity?
It's elementary school students.
Okay, so is there a
it will be
certain
K through
age for
5.
that? The average age is for the graph, or?
I'd have to, it's K through 5th, so I'd have to get an average of
Okay.
what the
Thank you.
distribution was across
I'll
the
get
grade
with you
level.
later. Thanks.
I do have one question. How does the home zone school situation work in the regions?
The home zone, they have to live in Region 3 to qualify, so we run their address. That's the first thing we do. We make sure they are in that zone, and then we give them the screener, and we make sure that they are in need.
Okay, Idlewild is not in Region 3.
Right, they have to be in the Idlewild zone. Same thing for English Estates. They have to be in that school zone.
Okay, so I'll need further clarification on that down the road, I guess. Well, just
So they would attend.
because there is no Idlewild zone.
Right, but they would attend Idlewild. They do have a program there, and English Estates also has a program.
They'd be in the cluster
Yeah.
with.
They have to
that
be in
includes-
zone
They
1.
can live anywhere in Region 2, right? Idlewild's Region 2, or is it 1? Whichever one it is. It's not 3. Okay, so they can live anywhere in Region 1 and go to the Idlewild program. That's a lot of area to cover geographically to have only one school.
There's also VPK at Wicklow, and there's half day at Seminole High, and we have actually Pinecrest is a home zone school as well. So we do try to, that's why we screen for our most needy families and place them there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Board members, I pulled item K just to bring you up to speed on a couple of changes that were sort of minor, but important for you to know that were added. So page, well, page 90, oh. Oh, are we going to, okay. All right. All right, so we're supposed to approve the consent agenda before we discuss the item that was pulled. So is there a motion to approve the consent
moved.
agenda?
Second.
Motion and a second. Sarah, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay. I got to keep the clerk happy. Can't go out of order. All right, so page 96 is the addendum, Exhibit A of the item K. And Dr. Griffin, if you could point out in the, did you all receive the changes? You
Yes.
did, okay.
Here, they're highlighted behind here, Ms. Lockhart.
Okay. Okay. So on number 3, they changed from inquire if the Booster Club has written bylaws to actually obtaining a copy of those bylaws. And then they added on 9.
It was just a correction of a typo that I pointed out.
Thank you. All right. So 1 addition and 1 typo change. So that's the change. So I don't know if there's any, if there's a motion and a second, we can discuss it if you'd like.
Okay, approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion about it? Any other items? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Superintendent, discipline?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. My recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County approve the student disciplinary recommendations from February 21st, 2017 and February 27th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I have 2 members of the public who have asked to make comment this evening. Dr. Calderon, if you have the statement to read prior to public input. And I'm sorry, gentlemen, I don't know what order these were turned in, and so we're going to do it alphabetically and ask for Mr. Munoz from Winter Springs. Certainly. Yep. I guess if you're together, you'll, if you'll listen to what Dr. Calderon has to read first, and then follow those instructions, and then you'll be able to start.
Good evening, gentlemen. The public input segment of the meeting is provided to allow the public to present specific matters to the school board for its consideration and referral to the superintendent and staff for inquiry and action, or address specific items on the agenda. The public input segment of the meeting is not open to presentation of campaign issues by political candidates or others, student disciplinary actions, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending litigation. It's not the intent of the school board to deprive any person of his or her right freedom of expression. It is, however, the intent of the school board to promote mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct on the part of its members. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. We'd appreciate you identifying yourself, and the school board is pleased that you've taken the time to come to this meeting and willing to make your views known. So welcome.
Okay. Yes, my name is Jorge Munoz. I am a Seminole County resident, and I've been brought in here to bring to the attention an issue that I believe is something not only for my child, but every child in the school district. It's a lack of communications and an oversee of ownership on the children itself, to not put the actual problem in hand or state or explain it. The point is that I have an issue with the school feeling a sense of ownership to explaining exactly what happens in the disciplinary action. So, and my sense is if my son or daughter is taken to the office, I feel communication should always be made. And it's not the first time the lack of communication is being made. It's actually the fourth time lack of communication. And then when it's spoken upon, it's more of an oversee as who has the ownership of the situation. If they feel it's not in the extent that it's important enough to relay the information, they won't. But in all honesty, that isn't based off of religion-based ideal, the growing up of the child. If you don't feel it's important, it might be in your school, but understand my child is there to learn. And the extent of how it offended him or bought him or made him feel in any situation, I should be otherwise to explain to my son the exact situation and what to learn from that. So pretty much my statement here is the lack of communication and the oversee of who has ownership, because in understanding he is there to learn, but he is my child. They are my children, so I feel that the lack of communication is a very important thing for us to get over. Anything that my child has brought to the office, I should be aware of. Anything that my child has brought to the clinic, I should be aware of. Anything that my child needs to be explained to, I should be also one to explain with him. And I shouldn't wait till my son gets home to speak to me about it. That's really in depth what it is. And then more into his would be the ownership. You can't tell us what is important or not. You can state what you will do for it, but not tell us what's important to it, because that's dependent on what we raise our kids as in the sight of what happened, if that makes sense. Like I stated, I don't want to put anybody's personal business, which isn't important. The importance of it is understanding that they don't have the ownership to say if it's important or not. That would work for me.
Thank you so much. I think there will be an opportunity perhaps for you to speak with, I don't know if it's an elementary school student or perhaps one of our executive directors could speak with you after.
That's fine.
Find out
Okay.
what the circumstances are. Thank you for being here.
Is this working? Okay. Okay. First, I just want to thank Abby Sanchez today for, I talked to her on the phone. She was very quick to help me, and she directed me to Dr. Dellinger and Mrs. Logston at Highlands Elementary. So I'm very pleased with how the things have happened in the last couple days. But there was a specific incident that happened last Thursday involving our kindergartners, my daughter and two other boys. I'm trying not to get into specific, but it was basically something that was said that was in the realms of sexual harassment. And in that instance, the three students at that time were brought to the office. They were interrogated or investigated, and the parents were not told about the situation. So my daughter comes home Thursday afternoon, very upset. We can't get what happened out of her at that moment. So it wasn't until we emailed her teacher that she shared more, that Friday she called me, explained exactly what was said, and the school had not contacted us. It's very disturbing. My thing is, I just wanted to bring more awareness to the situation to every school, because in kindergarten, parents are not supposed to be talking about somebody's private parts, kissing somebody's private parts. And that's what I have to deal with right now. So I just want to think about that. And something that was said to me yesterday morning at the school, not by the principal, but somebody else, was, well, we look at the ages of, kindergarten through a fourth grader. No, this happened in kindergarten. This is 2017. Things are different than they were 5, 10, 20 years ago when we were growing up. So I just want to make sure. And the other thing was the student was, after the questions were asked and answered, the same student was allowed to go back into the class. So my daughter has just been violated in that way, and nobody thought enough to maybe at least keep him out of the class the rest of the day, and to say, hey, maybe we should just send him home early today, not send him back in the same environment where he just said something that was very disturbing that none of our children would want to hear at age kindergarten. So I just, my wife and I, we feel bad for the boy that said it. We just kind of wish there was something that can be done more for him. Now, I don't know if there's school counseling can do more. Maybe there is. We don't know the situation. But we just wish, because something happened last year in pre-K, something happens all throughout this year with the same boy, something's going to happen first grade, second grade, third grade. If nothing happens, if the parents are not aware that to make the changes in this young boy's life, and we're going to see trouble. And that is our responsibility as a community to help him before he gets to first grade, second grade. While he's in kindergarten, we just ask that he can be helped more. And I don't know if you can talk about that later down the road, but that's something that we just, we want that for him too. So.
Thank you very much for being here, and I'm sure that you'll have some follow-up. All right. Thank you. Any unfinished business, Dr. Griffin? New
No
business?
unfinished or new business this evening.
Board members, comments? Mrs. Almond?
Sure. Seminole County Council PTA Reflections Program was awesome. Great talent by our students once again. Let's see, we have a new member on the Business Advisory Board, Don Miller. He's an architect. And then nominations came for a new chair, which will be Seema Datta, and vice chair will be Sean Essler, and that will take place at our next meeting. And then we're currently exploring the next deep dive that they're going to do, and I think it's community involvement with dividends, helping them. Realtors meeting went very well. I thought it was well attended and very informative. They seemed to engaged in the Q&A, so they knew the answers, so they were paying attention. I was glad for that. And I guess the last thing I'll talk about is the job fair and how awesome that was, how well attended, such energy in that room. I wish we could harness it, so kudos to everybody involved in that effort. Thank you.
The day of our last school board meeting, Mrs. Cardona and I went to the Spanish Honor Society induction over at Lake Mary High School, and they had about 150 students inducted, and that was a really neat ceremony. I really have to brush up on my Spanish because they did the whole ceremony in Spanish, and it was amazing. And I was really impressed. And I had an opportunity to volunteer in Miss Surmeyer's class at South Seminole Middle School and worked with the band students while she was teaching. I learned all about all kinds of different instruments since I'm not musically gifted. The Ryzen tablets, was it about 400 tablets that were donated? 350 tablets that were donated, and that was really neat. And they donated 350 tablets to our schools, so we're real excited about that. And like you said, the Reflections program, PTA did an amazing job with that. And then with Dr. Seuss's birthday, I was able to dress up as Thing 1, because Thing 2 is my twin sister. Really, I do have an identical twin. So I got to read at Wilson and Goldsboro for that. And like Member Almond said, the job fair, you would have thought we've been doing that for years. I couldn't believe how many people and how organized it was. And our administrators that were there from literally 7 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock p.m. And the night before with the Teacher of the Year, I just like, they had to be absolutely wiped out from the weekend. And then the Heathrow Art Festival, Chairman Lockhart and I were able to speak on behalf of the foundation and Seminole County Cultural Arts. And we saw the beautiful exhibits from all the students from elementary all the way to high school. And then the school safety town hall meeting was really well attended, and I hope a lot of people got a lot out of that. And I will be going to visit the Great Start program and doing some activities with them. Thank you.
One more thing. A fellow Rotarian of mine, Alan Singer, is part of BB&T Bank, and they granted a beautification award to Winter Springs Elementary, the tune of $4,000. So they're going to help spruce up the campus, ready for the new kids coming in next year.
Yay.
Thank you. That's fantastic.
Dr. Calderon.
Yes, I just wanted to compliment all of our history teachers and encouraging their students to participate in our annual history fair. And as many of us said as we were shaking the students' hands in their recognition, I've never seen such an enthusiastic, positive group of students come ahead to receive their awards, so that was exciting to see that. Also, I want to thank the Sanford Chamber of Commerce. Their education committee has decided to adopt Idlewild Elementary with a mentorship program for third graders. So I'll be joining other business people to come in weekly to Idlewild with third graders during their lunchtime to make sure that they have another set of caring adults to make sure that they continue their educational success. Captain Francis, thank you to you and your team, and Dr. Griffin and Chair Lockhart. It was a phenomenal school safety meeting. It just shows once again how transparent this district is, and I think that's even what we heard from public comment this evening. That's what our families want, is just open lines of dialogue and communication, and you proved that night, so thank you. And the high-impact teachers this evening, for those who are watching from home and didn't get to see the phenomenal teachers we have in this district, the state of Florida honored each of them, and we in turn said thank you again for making sure that all of their children achieve more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. I represented this board at the Central Florida Public School Board Coalition this week, and the topics under discussion were the Sunshine Rule and meetings, that meeting specifically. I also submitted a dozen logos that were created for that organization by Croom's students. So hopefully, if we all vote correctly next month, we will have a winner. And we had the legislative update. There wasn't anything new that was shared that we did not already hear from our people that work with us directly at our district. I also represented this board at the Insurance and Wellness Committee meeting yesterday, and the topic for discussion was our EAP program. And what we found that many of our employees don't know that this is a free service that they can partake in. So I think it's very important that we engage in a better communication plan to make sure that our employees know of another free service that we pay for as a district that our employees can take advantage of. And lastly, to piggyback on the Lake Mary Heathrow Arts Festival, phenomenal job that our art teachers and students did, I encourage all seniors who have participated in the arts or plan on going to college for the arts. The Lake Mary Heathrow Arts Festival does give a college scholarship of $1,000 or $500, I think, this year to every single high school. So please apply. The deadline is March 30th, and we'll be making the decisions shortly thereafter. So it's a great opportunity for our art students to apply for money from the proceeds from the art festival. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Y'all are great. I was able to mark off a lot of
I know,
a lot
that's
of
what I
items.
did,
That's
too.
fantastic. Speaking of legislative issues, huge thank you to Senator Simmons and Montford for their continued support of relief from testing. Really, I think is the best way to describe it. They've just been real champions for our students, and feel, of course, a special affinity for Senator Simmons. He's really stuck with us, so we appreciate him. I attended meetings, small group meetings from both PBAS and the Chamber of Commerce for issues committees discussing the impact fee, not just the alternative impact fee resolution that we're talking about with the County Commission, but the impact fee study that will be presented to us soon, right? I keep telling, when I run into the county commissioners, I just say soon. It's coming soon. A lot of good feedback. We have some work to do still in communicating our specific needs, but hearing a lot of good positive feedback and support that the growth that's coming does need to pay for itself. So great conversations regarding impact fees. Dr. Griffin was the featured speaker at the JROTC banquet Friday night. It was Haggerty, Lyman, and Seminole High Schools. So much fun to see the students all in their uniforms and then their dates and their ball gowns. It was just a very respectful, lovely, grown-up event. It was just great. I don't know that prom is going to look like that in the next couple of weeks, but this was really cool. Just a lot of meaningful ceremony, and when they do, I forget what it's called, the table, what is that called?
It's like the missing Marine that we see at Veterans Day.
You could hear a pin drop in a room full of 380 teenagers. It was very moving, very, very powerful. So many thanks to all of our folks who do work with our kids with JROTC. Shout out to Kyle and the Choices Department for doing a wonderful job on the Realtors presentation. Also very well received. Great, we need to keep getting more of that information out. And of course, our folks, public safety, Captain Francis, and all of the folks from the cities that were there to participate in that town hall meeting. We had some really good feedback from families there that evening. I think we'll continue to get some feedback. But what spoke to me, I think, in a community as large as ours, and it was a very well publicized event, what I came away with is I think we're doing a pretty good job with our families and helping them to know that we're not making decisions in a vacuum when it comes to safety for their students. And we are bringing in the experts, and that we have a really high-functioning team of people that are working to keep our faculty and staff and students safe. So I'm sure we'll have more of those events. I think it was really well received. This morning, I went to the Board of County Commissioners and received a proclamation from them proclaiming March Women's History Month in Seminole County. So I will share this with you all. It was really a fun, quick good time. It went down, shook hands, and then all of the women that were in the BCC chambers came down for a picture. The deputy in the back of the room this morning was a woman, and there was a variety of folks. It was almost looked like the village people down there, all of us with our little different roles that we played. But it really is wonderful. So it was, well, you know. So it was great. So I'll share this resolution or proclamation with you all. And apparently being a woman in March is cool. So all of you women that are here, thank you for the leadership roles that you play in our community. Cool. Anything else?
Teacher of the Year.
Oh, gosh.
I know, it's a whirlwind month. So
Teacher
it's a
of the
busy
Year.
month.
Many thanks to the foundation, great event, and to our folks in community involvement who play such a huge role in getting that out. Where a filter would come in handy. So I asked a couple of teachers at the event, beautiful event, wonderful. They all felt so loved and appreciated. And I said, so tell me, off the record, would you just rather had a check? And several of them said yes. So there may be an opportunity down the road to have some discussions about what that event might look like in honoring our teachers. If it's a smaller event, honoring them all and then sending them home with more money that they could do what they wished with. Would be fun to do a poll. Maybe the foundation could do a survey monkey of the teachers that attended this year and see what their thoughts are. It's a wonderful event, but I just thought it'd be kind of fun to ask them what their thoughts were. So that might have gotten me in trouble. I don't know. Oh, okay.
Chair Lockhart, I haven't looked at the details yet, but apparently DOE is reformatting the entire Teacher of the Year process. So I may get some information up at FADS, but it sounds like it's going to be it's not about the ceremony, but it's going to be an ongoing process of engagement for the Teachers of the Year from each county. So I'll keep you posted. Yeah.
Anyone have anything else?
Happy Pie Day.
Yes,
Happy
that's
Pie
right.
Day.
We don't even have any pie today.
Staff, take some time off. You deserve it.
Yes, have a safe one.
All right, we'll call this meeting adjourned at 6:25.